Coming to Donington, we knew the weather was going to be bad, and we knew the weather was going to play a big part for us. Having never ridden a Fireblade in the wet before, there's obviously a lot of work to do from the suspension side and setup and fueling and mapping. However, I think the guys did a great job in getting to a very good sort of base setting, if you like, to start with. What we've learned for the first time in the wet, genuinely I'm quite happy and quite pleased with the steps we've made.
We've not rode this new bike in the wet, so it was going to be a difficult challenge for us all. We're just trying to learn it step by step throughout the weekend, the wet settings.
You know, in the wet conditions, it's slidey, you don't have as much grip. It's a lot easier to make a mistake, and if you do make a mistake, they normally bite. You know, once the rear goes, sometimes it just keeps going because it doesn't grip again.
Getting back out in the wet like ducks. The new bike seems good in the wet, for sure. Certainly giving me a bit of confidence back. Yeah, it's fun riding in the wet as well, isn't it?
You just want as much feel as you can get, really. Once you know you can pick the throttle up and the rear ain't going to break away from you, you can start pushing on, and it took me a while to build into it, but it was real good.
The wet's always tricky, and there's no right or wrong setting. It's all about rider feel and confidence, and if he's got confidence with a setting, he'll go quick. And it's all about keeping the heat in the tyres. If you're not confident, and the slower you start to go, the more heat you lose in your tyres, and then the slower you go again, so you get less heat. So the trick is to try and push straight away to keep the tyres warm. So we've got obviously wet Pirellis. There's two options on the rear, a soft and a harder one. The hard one's maybe only there for drying conditions.
Basically, when the tyres come out of the mould, they use a releasing agent, and it leaves a really shiny shine on the tyres. Slippy, very slippy. So just got a bit of Scott Brite, give it a rub, just take the edge off, dulls the tyre a bit. One less thing to worry about.
It's a slightly different size than the dry tyre, so we have to change the chassis, and obviously the chassis itself you will change because you're not pushing as hard. You probably need to soften it off to get the movement from the front and the rear. Suspension, yeah, just look to see if you can get some grip, as much grip as you can.
The front feels okay. It's just as soon as like I go around Melbourne and touch the throttle, even up here, I think we need to go softer in the rear. Check to see, but I feel like there's not enough transfer.
As far as electronics go, we have softer throttle maps for the wet, just to allow a similar sort of progression out of the turn, but try not to spin the tyre. And then the other thing is engine brake. From wet to dry, it's quite a big step. You want the bike to kind of flow through the turn a lot more. You're not braking as hard if you've got too much engine brake, because you've got lack of grip on the rear anyway, you'll just go sideways.
I struggled in the heavy wet last year. I struggled in all conditions, I guess, but really poor in the heavy wet. And this bike gave me the confidence that I can fight at the front in them conditions also.
The races today knew we'd probably get one wet race with the sketchy conditions, so it ended up being a bit in between, and we'd set up for fully wet, and just as the track started to dry out, we struggled towards the end of the race.
I'd probably say that race one was more of a relief than race two. I've never normally finished a wet race or a drying race without ending up in hospital, so that for me was, a third place was like a win really. It was a solid race, and then it just took the pressure off me. We closed the points gap down.
We're just saying needs aggression, so you start banging into people, then.
A clash between Tom Neave and Chrissy Rouse, and then a bump between Rouse and
then
Danny
I knew in the back of my mind, I knew I could win today. And to back it up with a win was just, yeah, I'm over the moon really. I bloody love motorbike racing.
I'm excited to move on from here and hopefully finish the season on a good note.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster season. 5 rounds ago, I won 2 races and it took us a long time to recover kind of where we were. So to win a race again today, I think there's only 2 of us that have won 3 races, me and Josh. So it shows that I have the speed to win races and the ability to do it. I just haven't got the consistency at the minute, but I think that's going to come in time.
For Andrew, coming back and having a win here at Donington Park, backing up his race win here in the first round of the championship, it is fantastic. It's a great step forward for us.
Debut season to go into the last round with a fighting chance of a championship is something that I don't think any of us dreamed of. The team have worked so well and they deserve the 2nd place to follow up what Andrew achieved in the race 1, which is the best I've ever seen him ride in them conditions, because I know he's a full wet man and maybe nothing in between, and it was a really mature ride that saved me some points over my main rivals.
You know, it showed that Glenn's got the pace and got the drive, back on the podium, 2nd place, and the championship's all there to play for.